Welcome back, everybody. And Ellie, since this is a festival of new work and new experimental work and new experiments and what's cooking in the kitchen and that sort of thing, tell us what is or what has been cooking in the kitchen. What are you sharing with us tonight?
Well, I'm sharing with you works that I've written partly on an album that I released last year called Memory Islands. And I'm also sharing some stuff that I did a few years ago. I did a sound installation in Epping Forest, and I'm sharing some of those field recordings, slightly tweaked especially for tonight. So I'm going to do some improv over the top of the field recordings. Yeah.
Great. And when we chatted for the podcast, you were talking about your grandfather and your grandfather having a relationship with Epping Forest. Was it your grandfather or your great-grandfather?
Actually, even further back than that, my 5 times great uncle.
Okay.
His name was Thomas Wollingau, and he was quite influential in saving Epping Forest in the mid-1800s from enclosure. He was just a standard guy fighting for his rights. Come on, you know. And he's great, you know. He appears in the history books to a certain degree. And I wrote a folk song about his life. It's fantastic. Yeah,
great. I think I'm going to get out of the way and leave you to it. So another warm hand, please, for Ellie Wilson, and we'll set you on your way.
You got that? Thank you. Hi, I'm going to take you on a journey into Epping Forest. I hope you've got your wellies. Thank you very much. I'm going to do that folk thing of chatting between songs, so, I'm going to fill you in with what they're all about. So that piece you just heard was called Unnamed Unseen, and it was inspired by a book by Robert Macfarlane called Landmarks, and it's about how we're losing words from our language, particularly to do with nature, and how that if we don't use a word to describe something anymore, does that thing become unseen? And there was one particular good one in the book, which was a smooze, which is a small hole at the bottom of a hedgerow where a mouse runs to and fro. So when you're next out on your journeys, walking through the forest or whatever, look out for your smoozes. And then, before that, you heard a field recording that I did in Epping Forest, and I did it in this amazing place called Loughton Camp. If you've never been to Epping Forest, jump on the overground, get up there. It's just the most incredible place. But Loughton Camp is great because it's an ancient hill fort, so it's an Iron Age settlement, so you can see the remains of what was there before, and it is literally like treading in the past, in your ancestors, and that is something that is very relevant to my music. And you've probably noticed I'm playing a rather pretty violin. It's not a violin. It's very similar to a violin. It's called a hardanger fiddle. It's a Norwegian folk instrument. It has 4 strings that you play like a normal violin, but it also has 4 little tiny weird strings underneath called sympathetic strings, and they vibrate underneath the strings, and they create a kind of inbuilt reverb. So that's what gives that kind of slightly nasally, raspy sound when I was playing. It's very temperamental, so I'm going to put it away now. That's it for tonight. It's had its moment. There we go. Right, get out the trusty violin instead. It's like spaghetti western down here. Right, here we go. I don't want to talk for too long, but this next piece really does need an introduction. It's called By the Time I Got Back, and it's a duet with my granddad. My granddad was a Navy seaman in the Second World War, and this is a small extract from a school project. And he has a fantastic East End London accent, so I hope you understand what he's on about. But right at the very end, very poignantly, he says, "By the time I got back, I was in my 29th year. The young years of my married life were wasted, and that was my lot."
They decided to send me to the bleeding Far East. Now this time, I mean, they're fighting the Europe, but then we're winning for a change. This is the time out of the war when they'd already dropped the atomic bomb. lost me and reported as a deserter. Still stuck in Australia, I can't even get home to get demobbed. Well, eventually I got a draft to destroy all the Wessex. I got on that boat, I didn't have a bleeding penny. That seems a long while ago. It seems like bloody yesterday to me, yeah. And by the time I got back, I was in my 29th year. Young, it was my married life, and that was my lot.
Thank you. I just want to say, my dad is literally sitting there, and that was his dad talking. It was like pretty, I'm not getting emotional. Right, we're going on a journey, and we're going to go up the Suffolk coast to up to Aldborough, which is where I wrote this. Think about the clinking of the halyards against the mast of a sail. So that sound that you go when you go to the seaside and you hear all that kind of clinking and chinking of the masts when you see boats. Thank you. This next piece, we're going back to Epping Forest and back to the Second World War again, actually. Not quite sure why. But a lot of bombs obviously dropped in the East End during the Second World War, and a number of them dropped on Epping Forest. And a number of those craters that were made by the bombs were reclaimed by nature and turned into ponds and now are full of life. And I rather like that idea of something so destructive has been taken over and is now full of frog spawn and, you know. So I got a hydrophone, which is a microphone that you can put underneath the water. And I recorded this field recording, which I'm going to just do a little bit of improv over top. Thanks, those geese are good, aren't they? Right. Yep. Okay, we're going to up the tempo a bit. This is inspired by the brain and how neurons are firing around in our heads. We're actually reaching the last piece. Short and sweet, that's me. I just want to say a few thank yous. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to Juliet Fraser for putting on this awesome festival and for inviting me. Thank you so much. I want to congratulate Sandra on a fantastic set. I want to say a big thank you to Billy doing sound. Thank you so much. I want to say a great thank you to my mate Jay Chakravorty, who's sitting in the audience and has helped me get this set together. It's amazing. And thank you everybody for turning up and supporting new music. Right. Okay. This last piece is called By the Time I Got Back, Part 2.